Welcome to the Education Marketing Leader podcast with Chris Raposo. If you're looking to dive into the latest industry insights, draw inspiration from education success stories, or just want to sharpen your marketing skills, you're in the right place. Here, we bring you a diverse range of voices from experts and leaders in the field, offering you a unique blend of professional development and practical strategies. Whether you want to understand your audience better, stay updated with the latest tech trends in marketing, or expand your professional network, we've got you covered. So while you're driving on your morning commute or winding down after a busy day, let's explore the dynamic world of education marketing together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Education Marketing Leader with Chris Raposo. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming someone from the state of Texas. Her name is Cheryl Temple, and she is the Director of Communications at Stark College and Seminary. Cheryl, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
A little bit of background on Cheryl. She has an undergraduate degree in communications from Texas A&M in Corpus Christi and has a master's in ministry from Stark College and Seminary. And you've worked there for a couple of years now. So tell us a little bit about your journey and why you decided to work in higher ed, particularly at your alma mater.
Yeah, so my story is a little bit backwards I actually started working at Stark before I took classes. They had an administrative position open. Stark is a Bible college, and so I was already kind of feeling a call to ministry in particular, and they had a position, so I had applied. And then I didn't really have plans to continue past my bachelor's after I had gotten that in communication, but I wanted to know more about the classes Stark was having. I was working there now, and so I just took a couple, and I really love them. And in particular, we do a really good job with our classes and having a good tight-knit community with our students. And so that was why I went ahead and pursued the degree, was after already starting working. I've been at Stark for about 10 years, and most of my role has been in enrollment and financial aid. And so it's actually not really been with communications for the most part. But I know a lot from the student side, having worked with them. And we actually, this last year, what ended up moving me to communications was we had a visit from Bart Kaler, who is in higher ed marketing. And with all of the recommendations he had for us, we just realized that we were going to need someone to oversee communications and marketing. And so it made sense for me to go into that role, since I had a little bit of a background with editing, media, and all of that in general. But it is just part of my job, again, because I do financial aid as well. And so I'm our only person on that department for marketing, other than we have another guy that is really good. His name's Marco. He's really good at doing media as well. So between him and I, we can get done what we need to. Yeah.
Let's talk about your student demographic a little bit at Stark. Who do you serve?
Yeah, so we have a very unique population with our students. We have non-traditional students typically. Our average age is in their 40s. But man, we've got students all the way from like right out of high school to in their 80s. Like just such a diverse group. And the reason we have that is because we're really serving an underserved area for education in South Texas. If you know Texas, it's a big state. And so when I say South Texas, like that's a big chunk of land there that is being underserved with education, because we don't have many colleges to begin with, but then also we really don't have many Bible colleges. We are one of the only accredited ones. And so our competition really with our student population, we don't have to worry much about other schools, what they're doing, because again, there's not many options in our area. But what we're competing against is students that are having fear and doubt on whether or not they're even gonna go to school. And so we have to meet those students where they're at. And the way that we reach them really is through marketing 3 different themes that we do to serve them, which is that our classes in particular, they're accessible. So adult learners, they're busy, they have lives, they have families, they have ministries in particular with our students, not just jobs, but also ministries on the side. And so they're very busy. So our classes have to work with their schedule. And then our classes are affordable. Not a lot of Bible colleges are affordable. They can be very expensive, but we are very fortunate to have donors that have helped make this education possible. And then our classes are very applicable. We've got professors that they are in ministry themselves. They're not just teaching lofty academic ideas. They're teaching things that students have to practice at their churches, at their jobs, at their nonprofits, the ministries that they are working at. So that is really the three themes that we try to get across to our students. And then we also, one of the things we're really trying to do with our marketing after having met with Bart Kaler is the idea of like making our student the hero in the marketing. And that's what I think kind of helps combat fear and doubt too. This is something that they can do. Other people are doing this that are in many different ministries as well. And so they can, if you're struggling with this, you can do this too. One example I can think of, we've got a student in the Rio Grande Valley, which is like the very southern part of Texas. And he is the only deaf pastor for the deaf in that area. And so he can't just up and move his life to go to Dallas or Houston or anywhere where you would have a lot of opportunity for different colleges. And so he has to be served where he's at so he can reach his congregation in the Rio Grande Valley area.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Lots to unpack here, especially when it comes to making the students the hero, right? This is always something that I learned when you write case studies. You have a product, you have your school, you always want to talk about the great things you've done for somebody else. Quite rightly so, because you put in the effort, you gave them an opportunity, but the prospective students doesn't want to hear about your benefits and features. They want to hear about what can you do for them. And when you
Yes.
have those social proof stories, you know, it makes a lot more headway as in convincing some people to come to your school. Another thing is that I always heard pastors talk about in the churches that I went to. They always said, if you want to make a lot of money, don't go into ministry.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a calling. And the nice thing about that with your school is that it is affordable, like you just said. It gives accessibility to those people that need to serve their flock a little bit better wherever they're commissioned. And then I also, one more thing that I really liked what you said is that your faculty are actual practitioners, because
Yes.
a lot of the students these days, especially adult learners, looking for career readiness, and they want to be able to hit the ground running, probably even apply what they've learned during the semester while they're still at school at their congregation.
Yes.
It's very important, you know?
Yeah. And with our students, a lot of them are already in ministry. Since they're later in life, they were already starting this. And now it's just them realizing, yeah, we need education for this. It's very important. And I need to sharpen the tools that I've already got. And so I want to, yeah, be able to put this stuff immediately into practice. Yeah.
Yes. You also mentioned earlier that you're in charge of financial aid. So you have a pulse on the money, and you know that around higher education, doesn't matter who the institution is, unless they're major R1 schools, the budgets are tight. The belts are tightening a little bit. So could you tell us a little bit about some of the challenges in targeting adult learners with a unique budget constraint?
Yeah. We, again, are fortunate to have the donors we have that have created the scholarships. That we also, what's unique about our financial aid, we don't do Title IV and FAFSA federal loans. We want to make sure our students are not taking out loans. Just like you said, they're going into ministry where they're not going to be making a lot of money. So we want to really encourage them to pay for what they can afford each semester. And the way, we make those prices affordable for them is through some scholarships that we offer. And make our scholarships to where they are targeted toward really two different things, either a type of ministry they're wanting to go into. And so we've got scholarships that are for pastors or bivocational pastors where they're doing another job on top of their ministry, as well as people that are called to nonprofit work or chaplaincy. So we've got different positions that scholarships are targeted toward. We also have scholarships that are targeted toward different backgrounds of students. So minority students, female students that are called to ministry, which doesn't always receive so much support. And so we try to reach students of all backgrounds and of the various positions in ministry.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the cost-effective strategies that you've seen to be successful for targeting or marketing your school to prospective students?
Yes, so that's one thing with us. The place where our people are gathering is the local church mostly. And so we really partner with the local church. We visit churches regularly. Again, that's kind of easy for us to do because all of our staff are probably also on staff at a church, or they're very involved. And so we know what's going on with different churches. We will visit them during events. We will promote their events with our students. And that's content right there that I don't have to create. So if I just share something that another church did, that's, less time for me to have to create something that day. But then also, like, even more importantly than that, that's when we're working with these churches or we're building relationships with this group of people. And that is a thing that is really needed, authentic, genuine relationships, when we don't have much of that going around nowadays.
Totally agree. I went to a church in Tampa called Radiant Church before I moved to the Atlanta area, and they did a brilliant thing. Well, it wasn't them. It was Southeastern University out of Lakeland, Florida. It's about an hour away from Tampa. And they partnered with that local church. It was a thriving church, lots of Gen Zers in there. And they set up shop in the church at one of their empty rooms and started offering classes to the congregation to equip the next leaders of the church. I thought it was a brilliant idea. Coincidentally, the pastor also got his PhD from Southeastern University. So I'm not sure if he got a kickback or some
Oh yeah, maybe.
tuition, assistance right there, because they were able to set up shop at his thriving church and he was able to get his PhD, probably for less money than he would have paid without
but I
it.
mean, they can utilize that. That's a partnership. So yeah, when we do that, we will partner with local churches to offer classes at those locations. And so that is a great way to work with the watering hole that is where your people are gathering.
Yeah. Let's think back on your time marketing Stark. Was there a particular campaign or initiative that stands out to you? And what were some of the results?
There's something kind of unique we just started doing, and it was after having had our visit with Bart Kaler. He was really utilizing AI, we noticed, in marketing, and also like to automate things. And so we started utilizing it as well too, just to automate things, like communication flows and everything. And so we realized though also that this could be used in ministry. And really it can be used in any workplace, but in particular, we realized the time it was helping save us. And for our students, who again are adult learners that are busy and they have very busy lives, we wanted to offer this as a training for them to sort of show them, hey, this is what we're learning in ministry. And I say this for our students. It was not just for our students, it's for churches that we don't have students yet. We've been having, it's our vice president of mission and finance. He's the one that has been teaching how to utilize this AI. And he's really the perfect person to do it because he's also a pastor of a church. So he knows how to utilize this in ministry. And so this has been, again, another good point of contact for us to establish relationships with those churches, with those ministries, so that they know who they are, that they feel comfortable sending and recommending people in their congregation to us to get training. And
Yeah,
then
that's the power of relationship, right? When you build that kind of trust, people are going to send them to you.
Yes. Yeah. So this has been a really unique thing, like doing this training that not many people are doing right now, to help our audience that is very, limited with their time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of the platforms that you use to target these audiences? I mean, first thing that comes to mind as an adult, it's like I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Is that what you use?
Uh-huh. Yeah, we are starting to use LinkedIn a little bit more, but that has been more so to us to grow relationships with other people in higher education. And again, we are an accredited institution, so we need those relationships with other Bible colleges that are in the same spot as us. And it's another point of contact for us to build relationships with other organizations. And so we do use that, but our students are still mostly on Facebook. And a lot of the churches, even sometimes they won't have a website because they don't have a marketing person. They don't have, someone to oversee that, but they'll have a Facebook because they want to live stream their service. And so, I mean, COVID really changed things where people have to live stream to reach their congregation, especially those that can't come in person. And so that's where our audience is on Facebook. So we make sure to utilize that. A lot of people are on Instagram as well. And so we like to post pictures on there and good graphic content on Instagram as well.
Is there any particular content strategies that you employ to target these audiences that you have?
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the student being the hero. That's the best way to show them this is something that's attainable, that they can do. Like another example we have is we've got a woman that took classes with us when she was in her 70s. She started in our undergraduate program, and her husband had just passed away. And she had not had a job outside of the house for most of her life because she, took care of children, took care of her husband as he was, aging and got sick. But so this was her first time going to college, or going back to college at least for many years, and then also getting into the workforce. And she did it. She finished our undergraduate program, but then also went on into her master's, and she's now doing chaplaincy. And because of her background too, and her story, she's in particular really helping widows that have lost their husbands and other people that are grieving and going through some sort of trauma. And so yes, she was in her 70s. Not many people think of going back to school at
Can
that
you
age.
imagine?
I
It's amazing
know.
though, using your own pain for somebody else's gain.
Yes, yes. And that's what our students are doing so much. And so utilizing that, showing people this is what our students are doing already. You are probably doing something similar, but you need further training. We can help you with that. And so I think that's what sort of helps with our marketing and showing the student as the hero, what they are doing, you can do too.
Yes. And if she's been a lifelong Christian, she's always been in ministry. She always ministered to her husband. She ministered to her children. And now she's moved that ministry into the local church.
Yes.
And what I really like is I listened to a sermon once from Pastor Irvin Lutzer. He was the pastor of Moody Church out of Chicago.
Yeah.
They have a big Bible college up there too. And he said, talking about pastors that went into ministry later in life, that their biggest regret was not starting earlier.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, but always putting it off to say, hey, let me make a little bit of money. Let me grow my career. When I retire, I can get into it. It's another one of those things that I hear a lot about when you feel that call to go for it. So there may be also something to communicate in your messaging, because there might be a lot of people that are on the fence about to make that jump, and they need that little nudge with those social proof stories like you just shared.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, that's so many of our students. Yeah. They are, a lot of times they might have to take breaks even too. Yeah. Because they've got things that come up in their life. And so just communicating to them that that's okay. One class is better than no classes. Training of some sort is better. And it's helping in their classes. They're learning to do ministry. So again, like you said, they're already doing this. You might as well do this in class and get better at it.
That's right.
And yeah, work toward a degree with this. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the saying by Martin Luther King. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You only have to take the first step.
Yeah.
And that's prophetic there too. Everybody knows him as the social activist, but he was first and foremost a minister of the church.
Yeah.
So let's talk about partnerships a little bit, because you mentioned it earlier. Besides local churches, are there any other partners that you collaborate with?
Yes, we actually just yesterday signed an MOU with Buckner International, and they're a nonprofit ministry that is serving vulnerable populations, children and vulnerable families. And so this partnership is going to be great because it's going to, for one thing, for them, it'll allow their staff to be able to get training through us, through scholarships, and we can help make their education affordable. And then also it's opening up opportunities for our students. Again, they're called to serve people, whether it be in ministry or maybe in the community somehow in nonprofit work. And so this is opening up potential job opportunities or maybe internships and other ways that they can continue to help serve people as well.
Yeah, that is the nice thing about partnerships. It's why, even if you're not a Bible college, but other universities and colleges, to partner with local corporations to either get internships for the students that are currently enrolled or jobs for the ones that are graduating. Because then again,
Yes.
if you collaborate with these corporations or with these nonprofits, they'll give you insights into structure your curriculum to make your students career ready from the start.
Yes.
Good way to approach it as well. How do you measure your marketing efforts? Do you go into Google Analytics, or what sort of thing do you look at?
We look at a little bit of Google Analytics. This is something that I'm still learning. And again, I do communications for just part of my day because financial aid is the other part. And so I have very limited time to look at this stuff. And it's a little difficult to measure too, I'm finding, because even likes and all of that, that doesn't take into consideration maybe the views you're getting from something or the impressions.
Yeah.
And so, but we have found, I mean, likes are something that we can see. And so just as seeing that, well, we get more likes when we celebrate a student, and that ties in with our mission to want to show the student as the hero. So that just, yeah, that's a good way for us to see, well, hey, those are the things that our students do want to see, is they like when we celebrate students and alumni, and in particular what they are doing, not necessarily what we did for them. Like you had brought up earlier, it's showing what they are doing with the education they received in the workforce, in ministry, how that is now being used for something that is just better and greater than they even thought that they can do.
Yeah, and I think regardless of how long you've been in marketing, you're always learning about the different ways to get the analytics, how to track things, because
Yeah.
things are constantly evolving, so it's not like something that was created 10 years ago and then you just try to figure it out and run with it for the rest of your life. It's not that simple.
Yes. Now we have not, I'll say this too, because we're small staff, we've not always had someone over communications or over posting regularly on our digital platforms, but we have seen that when we've had someone over it, at least in some sort of way, then our enrollment typically does better. There's more excitement out there, more word about us, and people are hearing about us more.
Now, we talked a lot about the positives. Are there any challenges you're facing with aligning your marketing strategies with the rest of the college?
Yeah, it's difficult again with me just being me and the one guy that helps me go capture video footage. It's difficult, and with the things that our students are doing, we wish we had all the money in the world and all the manpower to be able to show what God is doing through our students. That would be amazing to do, but we don't. But it's okay. We work with what we have. I think another thing I remember Bart saying whenever he came to visit with us was like, the best camera to use is the one you have. You don't have to have this fancy camera. You don't have to even have a fancy lighting setup, which can take a long time to do. You can use your phone, and there's so many great tools out there right now that can be used, like Canva to help create graphics, or editing softwares like Premiere or CapCut if you need something more affordable. And so there's things out there that can help you just with the footage on your phone. So just make sure you have a camera, which you do if you have a phone, and you can make something work out of it.
That's right. The best camera is the one in your pocket, as you always say.
Yes.
So
Yeah, that's probably it.
That's it. I hear it all the time on his podcast, the Higher Ed Marketer podcast. So
Yeah.
very familiar with that saying. I'm sure you take student feedback into consideration, right? When you do your marketing efforts and your campaigns and your strategy. How do you collect that feedback? Do you walk around on campus asking people directly in the elevator, or do you do surveys and that sort of stuff?
So we do a lot of surveys anytime we do type of events. The AI training I was mentioning that we did earlier, we did one online for people to be able to attend. And so we sent a survey. And what that allowed us to do also was ask them what type of trainings would they like in the future, so we can continue doing this even beyond AI. We can look at other things that we know about that just from people being in ministry on our staff and what our professors know, and we can continue to offer trainings. And then again, even kind of going back to the what is being liked the most on our social media, again, that is saying something, and that they like when we are celebrating students and what they are doing. And ministry in particular, it's a thankless job, which that's the point, kind of like if you're doing it right, it's going to be somewhat of a thankless job. You're not going to be receiving a lot of awards for this. But like the downside of, and you're not doing it for awards, we know that you're doing it because you're called to it. But the downside is that can be discouraging sometimes. You kind of wonder if this even matters, what you're doing. It's hard work. And so when you're struggling to see the fruit of that labor, it's hard to want to continue. And so when we do celebrate our students, that's just a really great reminder to them what they're doing is, it matters so much. And that just, yeah, really seems to hit home with them. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, in ministry, you're called to carry your cross, and sometimes that is that. But carry it with gladness, and you'll get the strength you need. So, as we close the episode, let's talk a little bit about some emerging trends or technology that you've seen that particularly hit home with some of the adult learners.
Yes. Yeah. You got to have flexible programming. And I know maybe in marketing, you don't have the ability to set the rules for that. That might come from more academics. But I think a lot of people, just since COVID, it forced us to have to offer flexible programming. So you probably have that in some way at your institution. And so advertising that and showing that, in our case, the flexible programming that we offer, it's high flex courses that we do. And so the students can take courses in person if they want to, but if they can't make it in person, or if they're not near one of our locations, then they can also do online or video. And they can pick that on a weekly basis. So that is a very flexible option for them. And we want to show that to them anytime that they say, I don't have the time for this, which is often the excuse that they have for not going back to school. It makes it a little bit harder to use that excuse when you're showing, man, you can do this via video or online or in person if you're wanting more to build community and connections with other students.
That's right. You got to meet your audience where they are and don't ask them to come to you per se. Remove all barriers possible to make your college as accessible as possible.
Yes.
Cheryl, this was a delightful and edifying experience for me personally, and I'm sure the audience will think the same. How can people get in touch with you if they want to connect with you after this show?
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn and I'm on Facebook, and it's Cheryl Temple for both of them. If you Google me, my name is similar to the 1930s child actress Shirley Temple. So a bunch of stuff. I'm not Shirley Temple, it's Cheryl Temple with a CH. But if you type in my name, I think directly on LinkedIn or Facebook, hopefully that comes up first and not Shirley Temple, the actress. Yeah.
I'll be sure to tag you in the recap so people can find you easily.
There we go. Yeah.
Well, Cheryl, thank you so much for being part of the show today. I really appreciate your time and the insights you've shared.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
You bet. Have a good one.
You too.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning into the show today. If you enjoyed it, don't keep it to yourself. Share with your friends in your network. And if you have a moment, I would really appreciate a review of the podcast. That'll help other people find the show as well. Tune in every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. when I release another episode. Take care now. Have a good one, friends.